Okay, so let's get rolling. So why did I come up with Tech-ficient, and why is this something that I have been pushing? First of all, there's lots of reasons that we need to become tech-ficient, and let's just start with the obvious. In today's world of education, our teachers are, for lack of a better word, they're overwhelmed. Administrators, myself, we're overwhelmed. Educators in general are overwhelmed with all these state mandates, with all the testing, with all the new pop-up things that teachers need to do. And then you pile that all on top of what teachers have always done and things that teachers themselves know that they should do to benefit kids. When you put all that together, you get a very overwhelmed teacher. You get a very overwhelmed education field, and that's not good for kids. That's not good for our teachers. That's not good for our staff. That's not good for our schools, and that's just not good for kids. And so I've been really focused on how can we get some of that control back, without actually running for a state legislator position or state governor. What can we do? What control do we have to get some of that control back? Because if you look at really what the work week looks like for us, and I know this is a nice little letter to Amazon, but I like it anyways. When you look at what the average worker does, longer than 40 hours, I mean, listen, a 40-hour week is certainly not the norm. That is not what happens anymore. 94% of our professionals work 50 hours or more. And you know what? In today's world, a lot of our professionals are married to professionals. So if you're a married professional couple with children, that causes a problem. And that's 50 hours or more. There's times that in my profession and in my role that I'm here for 70 hours a week. There are a few times where it's 80 hours a week. So this idea of a 40-hour work week is certainly non-existent. But just because you work more than 40 hours, just because you're putting 50 hours and 60 hours, does that make you more productive? And the truth is, no, it doesn't. Studies suggest that once you get to a certain level, you're actually less productive than you would be at 40 hours a week. So 55 hours is that number. When we start to get to 55 hours, it really starts to be a detriment to you. It's not productive. So not only are you hurting yourself physically, potentially hurting your relationship with people outside of the workforce, but then you're also hurting what you do inside the building as well. And then when you get to 60 hours, you can read this. You'll get a boost, but that lasts a short period of time, and then it falls off. Then you get to 8 weeks. Once you start doing that stuff for 8 weeks, it's worse than working a 40-hour week. So once you start doing 60 hours or more, and you get to that 8-week period, it has negative consequences on it. And listen, I know a lot of really good teachers, elementary, middle school, high school, and let's throw in coaches too, who are putting in 50, 60 hours a week, bare minimum. And that has an impact on it, especially when you start thinking about 9-week quarters. If 8 weeks into the year, we're starting to get burned out and become unproductive, or not as productive as possible, we have 3 more quarters that we have to keep on working with these kids. So that can't be good. So I really started thinking about what this whole work life has become for us. And the idea of having a work-life balance is no longer the word. The word that I use is work-life integration. Trying to figure out how can they integrate work into their everyday life. And for me, this came up in a very alarming way, about 3 months ago. When I was at home with my children, trying to spend time with my 4 daughters, trying to be a dad. And I found myself integrating work into my everyday life. I found myself stepping aside at 8 o'clock and not being a dad and integrating work. And so I've really been focused on how can we get around this work-life integration, maybe try to get back some of that work-life balance, because the truth of the matter is we're entering what's called a total work dystopia. And this is actually predicted back in the 1940s by some German philosophers, a total work dystopia, where work becomes all that we do, it becomes all that we know. And don't get me wrong, I have a very, very strong work ethic. I was raised on a farm. I've played multiple sports in high school, college throughout my life. I I have no problem putting in an honest day's work. But at some point, we have to try to draw that balance and try to get back part of our life, because if we don't, we're not going to be as good at our job as we otherwise would be. And one of the things that's really forced companies to look at that are those millennials, because millennials, they want the work-life balance. And so they really kind of brought this back into the spotlight for us. And I hate to say it, they're right, darn it. The millennials are right. And so if you look at this little screen I have here, it just talks about what the millennials want. And they do have more of a balance than my generation has. And so they really want this idea of work-life balance. And that's kind of what I want to. I know that if I have a happy educator, a happy teacher, I have a good teacher. And you know what? And I should back up. I didn't really introduce myself, did I? I got all excited about this. My name is Dr. Martin. I'm an administrator at Buckeye Central Local Schools. This is my third year here. Before that, I was an administrator over at Pioneer Career Technology Center for 6 years. And before that, I was a teacher for 10 years. So I've been in this for about 19 years now, 9 years as an administrator and 10 years as an educator. So I have a pretty good understanding from both sides of the profession there. And so what we want to do is try to get this work life back, because I know that if my teachers here are happy at home, are more relaxed at home, aren't working as much at home, and they're more refreshed when they're here, they're better while they're here. And I need them to be as good as they can be here. And the same goes for me. I've learned the hard way in the last 3 to 4 months that, you know what, the more relaxed I am at home, the more time I get to be me at home, the more time I get to be a dad at home, the more time I get to be a husband at home, the more time I get to be a person outside of here, the better I am here as well. So I've really been focused on how can I do that? How can I help educators come to that conclusion? Because here's the truth of the matter. We have this dichotomy that came out of technology. On the left hand here, we have technology being used, and it was supposed to free up work, but it's created the ability to do more work. So you find yourself at home with a smartphone, answering more emails, checking more of this, Googling this, even sending out homework reminders, even maybe grading homework. The technology is amazing. It's absolutely amazing, but it's really created an environment, at least for me, and as the studies point out for a lot of professionals, where it's starting to dominate your life. So what I want to do is, okay, what can we use with technology to create more efficiency within our 40 to 45-hour work week that allows us to be a little bit more freer when we leave at night? So that's kind of what drove this whole tech-ficient thing, is what can we do to be more efficient in our day? How can we use technology not to really corner us into working more, but to free us up and to provide more personal time for us? And there's some really cool tools that exist out there. And I'm hoping that my computer does not die or freeze up on me so I can show you some of these tools. So I have a list of about 12 tools here that I was going to go over today. And due to recent school closings due to snow and weather-related issues, I have some events that are occurring today that weren't occurring before. And so I'm going to have to keep this a little bit shorter than I originally planned. I will not get to all 12, but I want you to see this list of tools anyways. There's a lot more than 12. But if I don't get to something, Google it. Check it out. Here's the list. See what it can do for you. There's some pretty powerful things that come with this. So the first thing I have up here is Actively Learn. Now, Actively Learn is a great little digital tool that can do a lot for educators. And so I pulled up an example here of Actively Learn. And what you need to see here is this in front of you is actually a web page. It's called The Importance of Universal Design for Learning. It's by the university. It's by Harvard University. And what I've been able to do because of active learning is I've been able to insert directions into the actual web page, questions into the web page. Now, first of all, in the old days, before Actively Learning, before Insert Learning, which is another thing that's kind of like Actively Learning, and before Wiser Me, which is kind of like Actively Learning, before these tools existed, what I would have done as a teacher is I would have found this article, and then I would have actually printed the article out. Actually, what I would have done is I would have copied the article, pasted it on Microsoft Word, I would have read through the article, deleted the things I didn't need, and then hit print, and then provided that reading to my students. What I do now to save time is I just log under Actively Learn, find that article, and insert that article into Actively Learn, which gives me the ability to do all these awesome things I'm about to show you. Also, before Actively Learn, what I would have done is I would have created another document full of questions about the article and passed it out to students. Or I would have created a Google form and shared that with students and had them answer it all. I can do all of those things in one place now. So instead of doing all that work I just talked about, all I need to do is get the web page, get the address, insert it into Actively Learn. And I can go back here hopefully without freezing my computer up. Upload it into Actively Learn, and then edit the article from there. And here's my article. Here's what it looks like when you upload it, when you just paste in the web address and you upload it. And then you click on it and it brings it all up for you. And then once you get here, you have the ability to write in your directions. You have the ability to put in questions. You have the ability to highlight things. Here's a poll question that I'm asking. I've highlighted this, and I made a little note over here saying, okay, if you want to know more about this, click on the link right here. It's going to take you to a video so that they can watch a video about this as well. Then I ask them another question down here.
Hey, Mike, does
Yes, ma'am.
does it keep track of the student responses as a whole?
Yes, it does.
Individually?
Yes, it does. Yep. That's a fantastic question. I haven't gotten that far yet, but just like what will happen with Google Forms, it will keep track of the student responses for you as well. So it does a lot of neat stuff for you, a lot of good stuff. And then another little cool thing is up here on the right-hand side, there's a little barometer about the number of questions you're asking. It's the question density meter. And it tells you if you've gotten too far. So I've never been all red. So based on the amount of space, the amount of words, it kind of gives you a barometer for how many questions you should ask. That way you're not hammering the students with a number of questions as well. So I can give this to in this case, I'm going to hand it to not hand it, but I'm going to share it with my staff tomorrow. We have a professional development day on UDL. It's a good article, and I want them to experience this tool as well. So I'm going to share it with them tomorrow at our PD day. But it gives me the ability to make sure that kids are actively engaged in the reading. And honestly, once it's running, once the student logs it up, they cannot scroll up and down the page without answering this question first. So they can't scroll ahead. So the student will have to read and answer, read and answer. That way you have an idea of how far along they are in the reading. And you make sure that kids aren't trying to read ahead sometimes and cheat and find the answers. So that's a really cool tool called Actively Learn. As I said, there's another one called Insert Learning. That's a lot like it. And there's another one called Wiser Me. That's a lot like it. Both or all three are very good tools. All three are things I would suggest that people look at. If you're a one-to-one district, it makes a lot of sense for you. You're cutting back on paper. You're cutting back on printing, walking to the printer, running copies of it, get it out to the students. You don't have to create another document where you have questions you want them to ask. It's all in one place, and it grades it for you as well, and it tracks it for you as well. It's a pretty awesome tool called Actively Learn. My computer's a bit slow, and as I said, Wiser Me and Insert Learning are things that you can do too as well that are much like that. Now, Video Notes is a great tool. Let me get this for you. I'll pull that up. Video Notes can be used for a lot of different things. What it does is on the left-hand side, it gives you the ability to have a video, obviously. And then on the right-hand side, you have the ability to take notes regarding the video. So if you want to watch a video. Here I got a UDL lesson spotlight.
Today you're going to be collecting information on these vocabulary words. On these vocabulary words. The left side, write down your thoughts, your drawings, lists, anything that helps you to understand what you're collecting.
So as you can see, as she speaks, I'm taking notes
The
here.
right side is where you're putting down those words.
And what happens is I'll hit enter.
Ideas.
She'll keep on playing.
And I want to know an explanation of how.
What I can do is take notes on the video, and as I collect the notes, they all become timestamped. So at 13 seconds, I started writing notes here. So if I were to click on that, it takes me right back to that moment in time where I can watch the video and say, oh yeah, that's what I was taking notes about. So if I want my students to watch a video and I want them to take good notes, but I want to make sure that they're good notes. And if I want to give them the ability to clarify their notes, this is a great way to do it. Student has the video on the left-hand side. They're taking notes. Every time they start a note, it becomes time-stamped. Now, these are notes that the students always have. This is a Google extension, by the way. So all the notes, they always have these notes. They can title it. They can save it in a folder. So if this is U.S. history, or in this case it's not, but if I was teaching history, I could title it U.S. history, Revolutionary War, whatever it may be. And I can save that in a particular folder. And I'll have that. And then when it comes time to study, I'm going to pull my notes up. Do I know everything that was in that video or not? And I can read through my notes. And if I get to a note where I'm confused, I don't remember, all I do is hit that button, and it goes right back to it. And it's time-stamped, and I can watch that again so it can refresh my memory what it was. So it's a great way for those teachers who use videos to share the video with all of the students across the class instead of trying to find it and pull it up online. And then most teachers would pull it up on their smart board or on the projector, and everybody would watch and they'd take notes. Here, each child can watch it on their own at their own pace, take their own notes. It's more, it's better for individualized learning. It also gives them the ability to go back and reread their notes, refresh your memory, review parts of the video that they thought were important without having to watch the whole video again too. Now, on a side note, what would I think would be really neat is if a teacher taped themselves teaching and they shared that video with their colleagues. And then their colleagues would take notes about what's happening in the class. That would be a great way for some professional learning back and forth. So maybe I'm the teacher, and I share it with my colleague. That colleague takes notes on it, and then I go back in, read their notes, and I'm going, well, what are they talking about? Well, if I hit on the timestamp, I can actually watch the video, see what I was doing as a teacher, read what they were writing, and say, oh yeah, that does make sense now. So it can be used for a lot of different things. It's a really great tool. It can be used for, I'm a basketball coach too. It can be used for basketball, I'm not gonna lie. There's lots of cool things you can use this for. Again, it's a Google extension. It's a free Google extension. I think it's a pretty powerful Google extension. I think there's lots of things that it can do for you in your life to make your life a little bit easier. Go notes. The third one is called Kaizena. Now I need to apologize because this is the tool that I had up and using that drove my computer to almost crash to cause that problem in the beginning. So I don't have it up right now. But what Kaizena is a student creates a Google Doc. You create a Google Doc and you share it with the students. And maybe you want them to write an essay on the American Revolution in this case. And the student shares it back with you. What Kaizena gives you the ability to do is to open that document and provide some really good feedback by highlighting different parts of the document. You can type in notes and provide feedback that way. You can insert links if you think there's a website that would help them out a little bit. Or you can click on a microphone and you can provide verbal feedback to the student and it saves it. So that the area that you highlighted stays highlighted all the notes that you provided stay there, and the student has access to those at all times too. That's called Kaizena. That is a fantastic way to provide real-time, high-quality feedback. I found throughout my career that handwriting notes on papers doesn't work very well because my handwriting is terrible. There's never enough room to write all the things that I want to write. Students don't like getting back papers that have red pen all over them. And then I have to take the papers home and grade them. I have to bring them back with me. There's a chance that I might lose it. There's all sorts of crazy things that can happen. If we use Kaizena and it's a Google Doc, nothing goes home with me. I can pull it up on any device, my computer, a tablet, whatever I'm using. I can read the student's essay. I can highlight it, and I can speak my feedback to the student as if they're there with me. And the student gets an immediate email from Kaizena saying, you have feedback. So it's a great way to communicate back and forth and give really good feedback to students. And I think it can save teachers a whole lot of time. So that's called Kaizena. Google Calendar tricks. There's lots of them out there, lots of them that you guys probably know of. I don't know if you guys have gotten a chance to log into or use Google's new calendar. I kind of like it. If it comes up here, you'll see it. Oh, I'm under my settings. I was playing around a little bit. By the way, a great way to learn about tools that Google offers is to play around in the settings. There's lots of cool things back there. So this is the Google Calendar. Hopefully you guys are all very aware with this. And the new updated version, I like it. I like the way it looks. So some things that you can do that you may not know that you can do. So here's my big calendar right here. Over on the left hand is my mini calendar. And typically, if you want to have a view of the week, you can change, you can make it a day, a week, a month, a year. That's the typical way of using a calendar, of viewing a calendar. I just changed mine today. I'm going to go back to week again. That's how most of us live with it. But this is a cool little trick. Let's say I want to see what's happening 2 weeks or in the next 3 weeks. Well, that doesn't really exist in this drop-down box. But if you just take if you take your mouse, come over here to 5 and just click the number and drag, and just do that, it changes your calendar to a 3-week view. A lot of times I like to see a 2-week view or a 3-week view because it gives me a much better understanding of what's happening in my life. And as you can see, there's a lot of things happening in my life. But it gives you that ability. That way I'm not coming up here, changing the week, changing that to week or to month, scrolling back and forth. If I want to know what's happening in the next 2 weeks, all I do is highlight those. So that I find pretty handy. Another handy thing that comes with Google Calendars that I use quite a bit is the list over here. This list I find to be absolutely amazing. And this is my to-do list for the most part. And I keep it right here beside my calendar because I want to see what I'm doing today on my calendar and what's on my to-do list as well. So I find that keeping a to-do list with my calendar keeps me a whole lot more productive. And when I'm more productive and I'm more efficient, I'm not doing as much at home. I can leave here at 5 o'clock and not feel as worried about what's happening at home or what's happening here. Because I got a much more productive day in. So that's Google Calendar. That's pretty neat. One of the things, too, that I like to do as well with Google Calendar, and when I talk to teachers, wherever I might be at, either here at Buckeye Central or on the road, traveling and consulting, one of the things that I highly suggest they do is have a classroom calendar. If this was my classroom calendar and I had a test scheduled for Friday during my 10 o'clock class, I would, make a note of that on my calendar. American history test. Test. It's going to be that day, 10 to 11. Obviously it'll be in my classroom. But what I would do is provide a description here. And then I would always add an attachment. And my attachment would be my review. And if I knew that, next week on this, like 7 to 10 days out, that my test was going to be that day, I would have that on my calendar, share with all of my classes, and hopefully the parents too. And I would have my review attached to that calendar as well. So just in case the student's at home and forgets to bring home their stuff, they don't have their review, they can easily go to their calendar, click on the attachment, pull up the review, and right there it is. Maybe a kid doesn't tell their parents that they have a test next week. Well, if it's on your calendar with the review attached to it, and mom and dad have access to it, that's a great way to communicate with parents, as opposed to sticking around, sending out emails all the time, making those phone calls after school, which, again, I like phone calls. I'm not saying don't do those, but if we're trying to find ways to be more efficient with our lives, our work life, then using the calendar to its fullest extent and sharing that with the classes and the classes' parents are a great way to get a lot of information out to our parents without having to communicate other ways. And they can save us a lot of time on the back end. So there's some really neat things that you can do with calendar, and I'd share more, but I'm not going to go on and on and on. Google Keep. If you don't use Google Keep, it's another extension. It's something that I think is a pretty awesome tool. I'm always reading. There's things that I want to read about. There's things that I want to learn about, stay on top of. And if I come across something that I want to keep, that's important, what I do is just use my Google Keep extension. And then it keeps this website logged for me. And if it ever chooses to work, it gives me the ability to take notes about it too. I can create I can call it something. I can call this web page something. I can take notes on this web page. I can add an attachment to this web page. I can even share this Google Note with someone else. So maybe there's another teacher that I would like to read this. Here I am. This is a great article. We talked about this in your last post conference. I think this will help you a lot. The title article, here's the notes I want you to think about. I'm going to share this with you so we can collaborate about this. A great way to communicate with other teachers, with other professionals, a great way to track websites and information that you want for yourself as well. That's called Google Keep. It does a lot more than just that, but I want to give you enough to get you excited about it so you look at it on your own and learn more about it. Google Keep is great. Now, if you're a nerd like me, you like to read. If you're a nerd like me, you're always busy and you have a hard time finding time to read. And with our profession, at least especially with me and mine, it's critical that I stay on top of a lot of different things. So I've come up with tech-ficient ways for me to stay on top of what I think is critical information. One of the ways that I've done that is a great digital tool called Pocket. And Pocket's kind of like Google Keep, but only much better, much more on steroids. To find a lot of different things out there that I would like to read, but can't always read. So my mailbox is full of emails that are sent to me by different subscriptions that I have with great things that I want to read if I had time to read. The ones that are really important to me, what I do is I put them in my Pocket. And what that does is it saves a list of reading material for me in my Pocket. So these are all things that I've saved that I either have read or I want to get back to reading. Yes, there's a lot there. And I've read the majority of these. And it saves them for me in my Pocket. Now, what's great about my Pocket, it also syncs to my smartphone as well. So whatever I put in my Pocket on my tablet or on my computer or even on my cell phone is synced across all three devices. And the really cool thing about this is if I wanted to read this, any of these, I could. Just click on it and you can read it. But let's say I'm in the car and I'm driving home. What I can do is pull my cell phone up. I'm not going to read my cell phone as I'm driving, but Pocket gives you the ability to have it read to you as well. You can choose different accents, male voice, female voice. You can choose the speed at which it reads it back to you. So if there's some really good articles that I don't get a chance to read on my own, I have about a 22-minute drive home and a 22-minute drive to work. What I do is pull my pocket out, what's the article I wanted to read, and I pull it up and I tell it to read it to me, and it just goes through my Bluetooth car and it reads me the article as I'm driving to work. So I can easily get in 2 to 3 articles a day, going to work and from work, without actually taking any time at work to read them or at home to read them as well. Just another way for me to be more efficient with my use of time by using technology. Just a way of me becoming tech-ficient. So that's called Pocket. Gmail tricks. Lots of really cool Gmail tricks out there. And now this may help administrators more than it helps teachers. But there's probably some very busy teachers out there that'll help as well, especially if you're a coach as well, or if you're involved, or maybe you're the band director. If you have a lot of things happening, this little Gmail hack is great. It's another Google extension that works with Gmail, and it's called Sorted. And hopefully it comes up. Oh, there it is. And what it does is it gives you the ability to have your email right here, your Gmail right here. And then you can create these lists. This is my to-do list. This is my follow-up. And this is what I just call it list 1. So as I'm reading my email, I can click on the email. I can read it and say, oh, you know, that's really good. I don't want to get rid of it. I got to act on it, but I don't have time to do anything with it right now. So I'm going to click it, pull it, and move it right over to my to-do list. I've read it. It's on my to-do list. It's no longer taking up my Gmail space, except I'm always looking for inbox 0, which I've never hit, but I'm always looking for it. And I can put it, and now it's gone from my inbox, but I haven't lost it. It's on my to-do list, which I'm always keeping up. Sometimes it's just something I want to follow up and do sometime. It's not important, but if I get a chance, I wouldn't mind looking at it. And then list 1 are just different things that I like to read in general. And so I've been able to divide my emails that way. So either I respond to an email, I delete an email, or I move it to my to-do list or my follow-up list. But either way, I'm working on inbox 0. Sorted, I think it's pretty awesome. Again, it's an extension to Gmail. And once you're in here, please realize you don't have to stay in the sorted view. You can just come back over here to the right, click Gmail, and then your normal Gmail box, bad computer that's slow, will appear. And so you can toggle back and forth between sorted and Gmail. Another thing that I've done is I've been able to find a way in my settings up here is to add the calendar to my, oops, now I've gotten a little excited with my Gmail. But you can add your to-do list over here. You can add your calendar over here as well. Lots of neat things that you can do with Gmail. Now, there's also a great tool out there called Boomerang. And I use Boomerang now as well. So if I want to create an email with Boomerang, gives me the ability to do a lot of neat things. It's an add-on. Right here's my Boomerang add-on. You go to your Gmail, you go to your Google web store, type in Boomerang, and you add it. And it gives me the ability to do this, hit pause. And when I hit pause, it stops all new emails from coming into my inbox. Now, for me as an administrator, I like it. I like it. What I do is just tell it to pause. And what's going to happen is whenever someone sends me an email, it's going to respond back to that person saying, hey, thanks for emailing me. I paused my inbox, so I won't see your email for a while. If this is urgent, please contact me another way. So I can tell how long I want it to pause for. Down here, different ways that I could choose how long I want to pause it for. And I just hit pause. And that stops emails from coming in. Because what happens a lot when I'm in my office trying to get work done is other people want to bother me with different types of things. And if I really need to stay focused and not be bothered by that, I pause my inbox. If it's urgent, they know there's another way to get me. But I pause my inbox so I can have 30 minutes of solitude to just be as productive as possible and knock out the one thing I have to get done right now. So that's called the pause button that comes with Boomerang. And then all you do is unpause it when you're done. And then all of your emails come right to you right now. And it just updates your inbox. This way, I'm much more efficient with that 30 minutes that I've allotted for myself to get this done. So there are little hacks that I've learned to use technology to make me more efficient at my job, to make me more productive at my job, so I can get more done in that 50-hour week as opposed to that 60-hour week, which frees me up to be at home and to be a dad, which might be my most important job. So any little thing that I can do, I've learned to do. There's lots of great tools out there. Stay focused is another tool that you can use. It's an add-on. Mine's right here. It blocks all that unwanted social media that might come your way. You know, so that way you don't get distracted from that. This last one down here, IFTTT, if this then that, is absolutely amazing. I don't have time to go into it right now. I could spend 30 minutes just on that, if not more. If you are not familiar with if this then that, check it out. It's a way of taking different technologies, combining them to do some really unique things. People create what's called recipes of using different technologies together to do something. And then they share that with the if this then that community, and you can use them. Or you can create your own recipes. But I've done some really neat things using if this then that to make my life more efficient. Okay, I said I was going to keep this short, so I'm going to stick to that promise. Now, if I can get my computer to work, come on, you can do it. I know you can. There you are. If you need more of this, if you need more tips and tricks and all that awesome stuff that you might have learned today, follow me. My Twitter feed is at drmdmartin, Dr. MD Martin. You can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm always posting there. I have two really cool blogs. At least I think they're really cool. The first one is Tech-ficient. Shockingly enough, Tech-ficient at techficient.strikingly.com. And what I do on that blog is create a little 3 to 8 minute video, how it makes your life much more efficient. And I do that about once every 2 weeks. And so so if you follow that, if you log into that and you subscribe to that, about once every 2 weeks, you'll get an awesome tool in your inbox of a cool little tool that'll make your life a lot more efficient. My other blog is Breakthrough EDU blog. That's just kind of where I blog about education in general and all I call them my mindful musings. And then lastly, if you want to know how to use technology in the classroom to be a lot more effective as a teacher, please take a moment to look at my book, Blending Instruction with Technology, published by Rowman & Littlefield out of New York, great publishing company. But if you need more of this, and I think we all do, please check those two blogs out. Carrie, that's all I have.
All right, Mike, thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for offering your time. You're very busy, so this amount of time, we really appreciate you sharing all those great tools and tips and strategies. If you want to stop screen sharing, and then I will do one more thing and show the evaluation for everyone, just so show them real quick how quick it is to go through. All right, I think we're good. Let me get this up here. Okay, so I will send out an evaluation. It's also on the YouTube page, but the evaluation, oops, did I lose it off of there? I did. Let me go here to my video and then find you. Whoops, that's the wrong one, of course. We're not on there yet, so Well, we'll get the evaluation link sent out, and if you guys can fill that out and give some feedback about today's session or any session that you watched before, we'll go from there. And then also the TILO calendar. I want to remind everyone about TILOhio.org website, and there's a calendar page that's got upcoming events, and we'll get some more TILO Presents webinars going in the early 2018, so watch for opportunities to share things that you find important and others may enjoy or learn from. So I'd just like to thank again Dr. Martin for your time.
Thank you.
And we will get this recording up pretty soon and get it all tweaked and ready to go. So everyone have a great holidays. Dr. Martin, thank you again, and we will sign out.
Thank you, guys. Have a good Christmas.
Thanks, Mike.